Good Saturday morning, DFW. I am so excited about this show because this feels like old home week. My guest right now, Tom Ziglar. He's the CEO of Ziglar, son of Zig Ziglar, and Michelle Prince. She is the brand ambassador for Ziglar.com. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well, I got to tell you, we actually go back a long time. I wrote a book in 2002 and started running around giving speeches. I used to interview the late great Zig Ziglar while I was at Channel 4, and then I got to know the Ziglar family and Tom. And I got to just tell you that Tom has really stepped into the light, and so I want to share this amazing story with the audience. And Michelle, you have a very successful book company, but you're also a brand ambassador for Ziglar. So this is going to be a very motivating segment. Tom, let's begin with you. Tell us about not only your dad's legacy, but how you're keeping the brand alive.
Well, I tell you what, there's not a more blessed human being on the planet than me, having a role model like Dad who was even better off stage than he was on stage. So first and foremost, just having that is such a huge blessing. And legacy is really what I say is legacy is a transference of habit. I've been studying legacy, and our business and what we try to do is to transfer the habit of success. One of the things that I like to say is that if legacy is your goal, then success and significance are just steps on the journey to legacy. And in our society today, so many people have this wrong idea of what success is. You know, they read about it in the news, they think it's fame or fortune, and then you read the tabloids and the people are really hurting. But when you have legacy as what you want, then you have a right definition of success. So my passion is to equip people to change the world and leave a legacy.
Michelle, let's bring you into this. What is the Ziglar brand?
What is the Ziglar brand? Well, it's everything that Zig Ziglar stood for, which is built on the solid foundation of character and integrity and all of those things that are so important, but then all of the steps it takes to be successful. What does it really take to be happier, healthier, more prosperous, have better relationships, and all of those things that Zig taught. And, my background with Zig started at a very early age, at 18, and those qualities were instilled in me at that age. And it has literally changed my life and millions of people around the world. So what is the Ziglar brand? It's carrying on all that he taught, but in a way in a new generation that will continue to impact generations to come.
Well, and I know, Tom, you're not a born motivational speaker. I mean, that was not one of your strengths, because I remember visiting with you a decade ago and saying, hey, are you going to pick up where your dad left off? And you said, oh, no, that's not me. That's not my thing. But you've become an amazing speaker. Let's talk about your journey.
Yeah, well, one of my friends who came through our certification program, he kind of gave me the name of intellectual engineer, which I looked up in Google. And when you Google that, the background on that, the acronym for intellectual engineer is NERD, nerd. And so I had the greatest speakers in the world on the team. Why would I want to go on stage? And then people said, well, Tom, you got something to say. And I just really resisted it. And then one day I woke up and I said, why am I resisting it? And I thought, I know why. It's because I think people want me to be like my father as he was on stage. And Dad never said that to me. Nobody ever said that to me. The reality is people want you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And that was the key. That was the transition point. The mindset shift for me is that I needed to work on myself and bring out my talents. So I've got a dry sense of humor. I don't get down on one knee, but I have fun, and I love connecting in my own way. And so that's how I made that step over into speaking, and now I love it because I'm just being me, but the best version of me possible.
So, Michelle, as you've had a chance to watch Tom grow in this new role, what are your observations?
Well, I love it because I've known Tom since I was 22 years old. In fact, when I worked at Ziglar, he was my vice president of sales. So I always looked up to him. And the first time I heard him speak was actually at Zig's funeral. And just so proud to see that torch being passed over, because he was behind the desk doing all of that to support Zig, and to see him on the front end, and an amazing speaker. And Tom has this way of touching people, very different style, but he has a way of just getting straight to the heart and straight to what's really most important. And legacy is definitely his passion, and he brings that to life every time he speaks.
I'm so glad you brought up the funeral, because I was going to mention it if you didn't, because I remember Tom. I'm sitting there at Prestonwood. I'm sitting next to Brian Dodge, and as I looked around, there's all these amazing speakers who really, were coming to pay homage to, the father of motivational speaking. And knowing that you weren't speaking a lot at that point, I was saying a prayer for you, and I said, "Gosh, I hope God gives Tom's the words." And it was just absolutely amazing. But one of the moments that I'll never forget is when you described the cloud image. Would you share that with the audience?
Sure. About 2.5 weeks before Dad passed away, my sister Julie was driving home back to Alvord, which is about an hour and a half from where Mom and Dad were. And she looked up into the clouds driving down the road, and she saw a perfect Z in the clouds, formed out of clouds. And so she grabs her cell phone and she takes a picture of it. And 2.5 weeks later, Dad goes into the hospital. The doctors say he's only got minutes. It turned out he was there for almost a week. But that first night, we were gathered around and we realized we were going to have to make an announcement. And then Julie showed everybody this picture of the Z Cloud. So I called our good friend Scott Erickson and I said, "Hey, I'm texting you a picture. Can you make it the image on Facebook when we make this announcement?" And so he did that. Well, Dad passes away, and the day after he passes away, the night of where we're going to do the viewing at the funeral home, Julie says, that picture of that Z Cloud, it's a video and it has audio on it. I wonder what it says. And so we're sitting here as a family and we listen to the audio, and it's about a 5-second set. Now remember, when you're driving down the highway and you reach to grab your iPhone to take a picture, you have to do something funny to get it on video. It doesn't naturally, right?
Right.
And so it came up on video, and the audio mentioned a Bible verse, 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18. So we look it up. And 4:13 says, "Do not despair, do not grieve as those who have no hope." And it was talking about death. And so God sent a message in the clouds with audio and video. And we're just stunned. So when you talk about speaking at the funeral, we had a sequence of miracles. That day before, Jack Graham, our pastor, Dad had planned the whole funeral out like 15 years earlier. I mean, we had to do nothing. It was all written there. And then we had a graveside, which was small just for family and close friends. And I said, "Pastor, we didn't plan the graveside." He goes, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, Dad's heart. Do whatever you want. Make it short." So we get to the gravesite on Saturday morning, and Jack Graham walks out, and he says, "Let me share a scripture with you, 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18. And the whole family looks at each other, because now God's put the message as a Z in the clouds. It's on video. It's on audio. And Jack Graham says the same exact verse.
Wow.
And I think it's because God knows me and the family. We're kind of slow sometimes. So and so when I spoke at Dad's funeral, I literally only had 3 words written down, and I don't remember a word I said. And it's because I knew that people were praying like you, and I knew that God had honored Dad in so many ways that whatever came out would be what he wanted to come out.
Wow. I just got chills. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, let's talk about the brand going forward and to passing on to the next generation, because there are young people who are coming out of college who need this kind of information.
For sure. Yeah, and Zig's message is timeless,
Yes.
right? And a lot of it is based on the golden rule. His most famous quote was, "You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want." That's timeless. And so our goal with Ziglar is that we want to continue that generation through generation. And, we're kind of calling it the next generation, but it's really the same message just carried out in a more up-to-date way, but all based on the same qualities that Zig shared on how to be successful, how to have motivation, how to continue and be the best version of yourself. So I'm excited because it's a really exciting time in the Ziglar brand.
So, Tom, what are the plans? When somebody wants to engage Ziglar, are they engaging you through training, speeches? How do they engage you?
We have several things, but our primary one, and the one I love, is our Ziglar Legacy Certification Program. And we have over 200 certified trainers in 17 different countries. And basically, people who believe in our philosophy, who may have already been touched by the Ziglar message, they have in their heart to help other people be, do, and have more than they thought possible. So they come through a 5-day program. We certify them to go out and teach because, like Michelle has an awesome program where she teaches people who want to write a book. She helps them get the story on paper, get it out there to their community so that they can make a difference in the world. And that's who we love to align with, is people who have their own unique message based on the Ziglar philosophy. And when you combine those two things, that's life-changing.
Tom, do you still feel your dad's spirit?
Every day. I mean, we all have a voice in the back of our head. Mine just happens to have a deep Southern drawl.
Okay, well, we have to have you guys back. We're out of time for this segment, but the website is Ziglar.com. And Michelle Prince, Tom Ziglar, this has been a true blessing. And Zig, I know you're listening. I know you're, we don't need a sign. We've got the sign. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.